Rainey's not here. Alderman Burris.
Here.
Alderman Fisk.
Here.
Alderman John Batiste.
Here.
Alderman Nguyen. Sorry. Alderman Wilson.
Here.
Alderman Holmes.
Here.
Alderman Tindem.
Here.
Alderman Grover.
Here.
7.
There are 7 people present. We have a quorum. I have 2 announcements. One is that Alderman Nguyen is out of town and Alderman Rainey is at a family event, so they're unable to be here. Second, I regret to announce that James Murray, who was Evanston's first corporation counsel for many years, died, and he will be sorely missed. No one has signed up for public comments. So, City Manager, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services is next.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. Before we get started, we are going to unfortunately have to say goodbye to one of our key staff members at the end of this week. Lehman Walker, who has been our Community and Economic Development Director for the past 6 months, is returning to University City, Missouri to serve as their city manager. And we're very sad to see Lehman go, but want to take this opportunity to thank him for his fine service to the city of Evanston, and he will be sorely missed.
Thank you, and I'm sure we all agree, since there is no call of the wards tonight, that we are very sorry you're going. You've done a fabulous job, and we greatly appreciate all your work.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you for coming together this evening for this special meeting. As I came to you several months ago and asked that we undergo over the course of a year or so an evaluation of the activities of our Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Department. If you recall, the council agreed to look at 6 areas over the course of about 12 months, and this is the first opportunity we're having to come together to talk about 2 of those areas. First this evening, we're going to go slightly out of order from the agenda and talk about city special events programs, and then do an overview of our youth programs. It's our hope this evening with both of these topics that the council will have an opportunity to ask questions of staff about both issues and provide us some feedback on how we can make improvements hopefully in both of these areas. We're going to start this evening with special events. There was information in your packet that was distributed ahead of time talking about a variety of special events and some hopeful actions for this evening. My hope is that the council will, after talking about the special events that we currently have, think about things that we could do. I think we do an excellent job of having special events in the downtown, an excellent job on the lakefront, but I think there are opportunities in other parts of Evanston to have not only one-off type special events as we do with our art festivals, but also continuing special events as we do with our concert series. So I hope that as part of the council's discussion dealing with special events, that we really can focus on those areas that we don't have special events, and perhaps charge staff to look at new options, other ways of doing things in other parts of the city of Evanston. So that would be the first presentation, unless there's any initial questions, and it looks like there may be.
There is an initial question. Alderman Fisk.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Given the fact that Alderman Nguyen is not here this evening, I would respectfully request that we defer discussion of the lakefront events until the time when she can be in attendance.
And Madam Mayor, Alderman Fisk, it's our intention not to delve into that this evening. Again, really the thrust of what we hope the council will talk about will be things not on the lakefront and not in the downtown, because I think there are opportunities to do other things. I know Carolyn DeLutri is here from downtown Evanston. There may be opportunities there, but we really see, pursuant to previous council discussion, that we have a good variety of things on the lakefront. My concern is what can we do on Howard Street, what can we do on Central, what can we do in West Evanston that we're not doing. So, Madam Mayor, our intent tonight is to focus there. Certainly if there's any follow-up, if members of the council wish to talk about lakefront events, that's certainly your prerogative, but really our hope is that the discussion tonight will focus on other areas.
Seeing no further lights?
Taking us through both of the presentations this evening is Doug Gaynor, our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services. Mr. Gaynor, good evening.
Thank you, City Manager Bobkutz and members of the Council and Madam Mayor. We're going to start with the special events presentation. We have included a great deal of information in a packet that we provided on Friday. So some of the documentation will be that we refer to was in your packets and will not be part of this total presentation. Special events are to provide residents and visitors with year-round activities by sponsoring and promoting free festivals and events and other activities. We draw thousands of people to Evanston each year, and it benefits the local economy, and it also enhances the quality of life of the residents, and it promotes tourism. The following criteria is used to determine whether an event falls under the special events category. All outdoor events requested on city property or that significantly impact the lakefront or the neighborhood. Events with 100 participants or more in lakefront parks. Non-lakefront park events with 250 participants or that require street closures with the exception of block parties. The process is fairly simple. It's online. You submit an application. We have to have the first page of the application by February 1st. The full application is then due by the February 28th. A couple of reasons for that. One, and probably most important, is for the event planners to have enough time to start their promotion and planning for the event if it's been approved. Special Events Committee review, they review all the requests. We try to accommodate all of them, and they then are forwarded with a recommendation to the appropriate City Council committee. The Special Events Committee is comprised of one member of the staff from each department in the city. This was created several years ago. It's a coordinated effort so that all departments have the communication as to what's happening throughout the city. Probably one of the best examples is if the fire department was not aware of the Custer Street Fair and they had to go east to west through that area, they would have to get to a certain point, turn around, and find another route. So this is an opportunity for all of the departments to be completely informed as to what's going on. And that committee meets anywhere from twice a month to some months we don't meet at all.
Excuse me, Alderman Grover has a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Gaynor. Does the committee apply a specific criteria to determine whether a special event gets its approval or not, besides, obviously, first responders, convenience, and so forth? Is there a list of things that you use to check off to?
The criteria that I mentioned previously is as far as 100 participants at the lakefront or 250. Other than that, it's pretty well open to anybody that is requesting an event. However, we do look at, as an example, how many events might be on one day. So it's more of a common sense type of review. We're trying to accommodate as many folks as possible. And we, frankly, are not turning down very many general events. We do turn down a number of events that are requested based on our policy now at the lakefront.
But there's
and I'm not getting into the lakefront.
Right, but there's not a specific criteria that we use to determine which events would be approved and which would not be approved, besides the ones you mentioned in just using common sense and balancing events and so forth.
We then take the recommendation from the appropriate City Council committee and we take that to the City Council. Once that has been approved, and primarily we won't be getting all of the requirements from the event planners at that point. For instance, we won't get their indemnification and their insurance papers because obviously that's several months in advance of their activity. However, it's all based on the requirements being met prior to their event before their permit is issued.
Thank you. Alderman Burris has a question, too.
As actually a follow-up to Alderman Grover's, Why is there the discrepancy between the number of participants that's considered a special event between 100 and 250? Why is that? Is there some sort of special reasoning?
There was a policy that was approved, adopted by the city council, I think it was back in 2003.
Okay.
And it pretty much spelled out, and I believe you have that in the packet that I distributed just before this meeting.
So I just wanted to actually highlight that there is a discrepancy between people that live or the lakefront and the rest of the city, that there's, as usual, different criteria. Thank you.
The application fee is $100 for all non-city sponsored events. And cost for services require 100% reimbursement, and these fees are waived to city events and city co-sponsored events. The permit fees include, additional permit fees include items such as the electrical or tent permits, alcohol and raffle or food permits, and these fees are not waived. The process, as I say, is simple. Maybe I'm going the wrong way here. Special events, a variety of special events. I'm sure that you have all had some opportunity to be involved. The Fountain Square Arts Festival, obviously we just completed the 4th of July. The Ethnic Arts Festival was just completed. The International Cycling Race was yesterday. And there's a variety of different types of events, and again, the listing is in a packet that we provided. Sponsored events are Starlight Concerts and both the Lakeshore and the Ethnic Arts Festivals. Co-sponsored events is approved by the City Council on 4th of July, the Evanston Garden Fairs, and the North Shore Century Bike Ride. And other events, the Taste of Armenia, the Relay for Life, YMCA Youth Triathlon, and a whole list of other activities are events that are run by outside the city, but events that are sponsored here by agencies like the YWCA. In addition to special events, the department provides services to a number of other events. In 2009, the city issued 173 block party permits, 431 park use permits, and a variety of other activities that require city services.
Alderman Holmes.
I just want to back up. I'm sorry. I noticed that under the special events, sponsored or co-sponsored, we don't have the community picnic. I don't see it, but I see Bike the Ridge. Is that not a community special event?
Yes, it is, and I think that was an error, just not listing it. We didn't list every program, and I know there were one or two that were left off. But the community picnic is a sponsored event by the city.
And it's coming up soon.
Very soon. We get into the financial information. The 7 city-sponsored events, the revenue is $127,900, expenses $152,000, and there's a budgeted amount in our budget of $24,000, almost $25,000 to subsidize these different events. The co-sponsored events, the 4th of July and the ones I mentioned earlier, represent about a $62,000 subsidy from the city. That's down from about $80,000 when we started making some cuts in some of these activity support. The 46 other events are totally break-even. Each of the Custer Street Fair, the Fountain Square Festival, all of those events, we recapture all expenses. All the departments submit to us their costs, and we bill those agencies or sponsors, and they pay for the events. We have some current limitations for increasing some of the special events that we need to address. Limited parking at our park sites for large events. Need to minimize use of athletic fields so they are not damaged for sports use. A good example of that would be if we were to have a concert at James Park for 10 or 15,000 folks. We don't have the parking for it, and in order to accommodate that number of folks, they'd be on the athletic fields. Those athletic fields are all irrigated, and a lot of damage would be created, and we'd have to pay for that. Now, would a promoter reimburse us for all of that and so on? Probably. What we can't afford is the time lost in using those fields when all of these affiliate groups, Little League Baseball, Little League Soccer, and so on, are using the fields. And we've gone now from programs, baseball, soccer, starting very close to the end of March and running right up to almost November.
Alderman Grover has a question.
Thank you. Do we limit the number of non-lakefront events at all?
Yes, we do, and I think,
Did I miss that?
no, we have, I believe right now, a limitation of 20 event days, and is it 10 or 11? 11, 12 events with 20 event days. So, for instance, the lakefront, the Lakeshore Art Festival is 2 days. That would be 2 event days.
For non-lakefront events?
Those are not limited.
Unlimited number?
Correct.
Alderman Jean-Baptiste.
Doug, you talked about the preference that we give to Little League Baseball, soccer, and other such recurring activities, league activities for the use of the field over what might be a concert in the park. And I don't know whether we've ever had any concerts, but who are we're not co-sponsoring the baseball and soccer leagues, right?
Well, in essence, we are. We have a number later on in our youth presentation that we'll talk about. The way the programs are run for the affiliates, whether it's Little League Baseball or soccer or lacrosse, they run the organization and we provide the venue. So it's a partnership. And when we get into the youth presentation, we'll be able to provide you with the number of how many coaches there are, how many volunteers it takes to run Little League football, Little League baseball, and Little League soccer, and so on. So it is really a partnership, and it is what I would consider a co-sponsorship, because without them, we would be paying a huge sum of money to hire staff to run a Little League baseball program that has somewhere between 1,600 and 1,700 youth. Little League soccer, combined with the number of soccer programs that we have, Team Evanston, AYSO, around 2,200 or 2,300 youth. It would be a massive undertaking, which would require a number of staff, paid staff. So, yes, I believe that if we were to sit down and actually write a business plan, we do co-sponsor the program.
Okay. I think that these activities are, really great for the city. But what damages you would anticipate if there were a concert in the park? Because I know that in the past there's some groups that have come forward and they've had the idea of Evans stock or whatever, but we basically have resisted giving them options to go forward. So the rationale is that the fields will be damaged, right? That's one of the rationale. What damages do we anticipate?
Well, as I said, first of all, at James Park, where you would have a very large a venue where you could accommodate 10,000, probably 10,000 spectators. There's no parking, and if you were to try to provide parking in the park, you would be driving on the turf.
No, let's talk about the damage to the park first.
That's what I'm trying to
we
explain.
certainly would not want people parking
because we have
grass.
We don't have parking in the area, and that would be the only area that we would be able to accommodate parking. So in addition to that, we have irrigation on all the fields. And the fields, for the most part, there are 4 major fields that are fenced, and they're all irrigated. The soccer fields, which are not fenced, are irrigated also. And the irrigation system, in most cases, is going to get broken by having various vehicles and folks walking on the heads of the sprinklers, the weight of trucks bringing in the appropriate equipment. Now, as I indicated, that can all be paid for. We can develop a bond program so that in the event there's damage and the promoters are, delinquent in helping us restore the facility, we could call the bond in and we could take care of that. So there's a combination of issues besides the actual use of the fields and the timing. It's the concern of the damage that would occur. The other part of that is it's extremely expensive for a promoter to use a park like James Park because it's not fenced. So a promoter would have to, on top of bringing in talent, security, the sound equipment and all the other pieces, they would have to fence the facility in order to sell tickets to keep people in or keep people out. So we've done some research to make that determination. We have discussed it, but nobody's really come forward and said, okay, here's our plan and how we can make it happen. We've had some inquiries, but nothing of some real significance to date.
Okay. Do we have enough parking for events at Northwestern? When we have the football games and basketball games or the major events, when major presentations, I know that...
No, we don't.
We don't, right? So do we limit activities there? We don't, right?
Well,
I'm trying to deal with the policy approach. Okay, as you present it as a fait accompli, and on the other hand, I hear, city managers saying, we need to start thinking of creative approaches to do certain things. And so I would think that if you have a bunch of young athletes running around on the fields with cleats over a long period of time, they would cause much more damages than a concert where you have some grown folks, on the field for one night. And I understand the limitations that we have in regard to parking, but I would, challenge the notion that we would cause so much damages to the park that it's not worth it, or, it would be, prohibitive for us to go forward. So I think we should be open to those possibilities and think those through, because since we're charging people anyway, and we ask folks to put up insurance and other things like that, we should not be closed to the possibility of those kinds of initiatives. That's my view. Okay?
Finally, the events with street closures are limited to Sundays to minimize impact on residents as well as businesses. And this is a policy that we also had adopted by the council as far as the entire special events policy, where we're not closing, as an example, the downtown on a Saturday where the retail business would suffer. We're closing it, for instance, on Sunday, like yesterday at the race. We've had a great deal of support for that event, and it really does minimize the impact to the businesses in the downtown. We're looking at how we might be able to increase the number of Starlight concerts throughout the city. We're looking at developing new events based on community demand. One of the newer ones is the Color of the Town Purple, which is a partnership with Northwestern University in promoting their activities and football games. And any other suggestions that come in the door, we certainly are open to consider. And that pretty much wraps up our...
Alderman Tendem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I noticed that, we all noticed that the special events, the North Shore University Health System Grand Prix bike race, it's sort of, that's the package title of the event. Are there any other possibilities for corporate sponsorship at that level that would underwrite some of these events that we are taking, underwriting ourselves? As some would be inappropriate, like the holiday celebrations, and some would be too large. But I think our Starlight Concert Series, are they individually sponsored, or does anyone really, is there potential to underwrite or sponsor, have a big sponsor for the Downtown Arts Festival? It just seems to me we could attempt that and see if anybody would help us alleviate some of those costs.
Yes, a little bit of history. A few years ago, I approached First Bank and Trust and asked them if they'd like to sponsor either one of the festivals or the concert series. They did donate and sponsor for 1 year, the concert series. And it didn't cover the total cost, but it was a great contribution, and we certainly appreciated their effort. About 3 years ago, we, the city, hired under contract an actual development director or a development person who really spent a great deal of time knocking on doors in both private and public, whether it was Target and their foundation or whoever. And we were really not successful. There was not, the message, there were a number of messages. One of the messages was, we already pay our taxes, we don't want to contribute to the city anymore. Another comment was that we only donate to 501c3, and that then drove us to creating a Parks Foundation 501c3, which is separate from the city, so that we could then go and get donations and contributions and grants. But the main issue we had was there's just not enough visibility for the big bucks to come in the door. So if we have 10,000 people, for instance, that come over the weekend, or 20,000 people that come over the weekend for, let's say, the art festival, that wasn't enough to generate significant. We did get lucky. Kashi it was a first-year sponsorship, I believe, last year, and I think they're coming back again this year. It's not a significant donation, but it's a donation. It's going to help us. We're very close to making both our festivals break even. So we're real pleased with that. And we continue to get donations. The Cherry Family Foundation has made a donation. So we're continuing to work on that. And I know that the city manager has plans for additional development potential.
Madam Mayor, Alderman Tenham, just to follow up on that, as the council may recall, in the current year budget, the council approved a position for a development officer, and we're in the final stages of selecting that individual, so hope to have them on board, hopefully by 1st of September. And part of their responsibilities will be the Parks and Recreation special events, also advertising, also working on existing foundations that we have for our parks programs, for the library, working with police and fire. So we'll be starting that up again this fall.
Thank you. One other thing, I did notice I was over along the canal going to Pooch Park. There was had been an event earlier that day, which I guess is technically Skokie or county property. It was the national champion or world champion wiffle ball contest or games. I mean, it seemed amusing, but it seemed like there had been a big crowd. Seriously? Are they? Yeah. And I mean, something fun like that, I think could have a lot of potential. I sort of jokingly said to Wally that we might have the world champion tug-of-war contest somewhere later in the season when the fields are more soggy and wet and muddy. It might be really appropriate. And I could challenge the Ninth Ward. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
City Manager?
I have the unusual distinction this evening of holding a question proxy for Alderman Rainey. So she and I had a telephone conversation earlier, so she had a couple of comments she wished that I would share with the group. One was to ask about Elks Park and its availability for special events.
We have worked a number of times with the Ridgeville Park District, who is the owner of Elks Park. And they run their programs, and they are very selective of what programs are there. 3 and 4 years ago, we did run a summer food program there, and I think after the second year they asked us not to come back. We are yet to find another location in South Evanston, east or west, so we could have a fourth location. But they run a lot of their programs. Soccer, Little League Baseball do use their fields, but as far as our department is concerned, no.
She asked that I just reemphasize the partnerships with the Park District to see if there would be other opportunities. The other, as far as any new special events, she was supportive of ideas of looking for a special event that could be based in South Evanston, either on Howard Street or adjacent, either from an art festival or music festival. She wanted me to indicate that. Also, she expressed some interest in movies in the park. I guess Ridgeville, she says, has a screen that I guess they have used from time to time, and she would hope that the council might consider the opportunity to have movies in the park with technology. They're fairly straightforward to put on with a digital projector and a sound system. So she asked that I raise those as well.
Sure. We, for the last 2 years, but not this year, the last concert that we have at Dawes Park has been a movie. But we're not, I don't believe we're doing it this year. So we'll certainly take a look into that.
Alderman Grover?
Looking at the enormous growing success of the Ricky Birdsong race and the Women Out Walking, I think there's untapped potential to do more of those in-motion type events in Evanston that would be entirely supportive of the school's efforts towards wellness and our health department's new emphasis on health and wellness in Evanston, and think about some kind of event that binds the city together, a 9-ward walking tour or something like that, or something that gets the people who were women out walking and gets a lot of those people who are walking and running in the Ricky Birdsong now, 4,000 people, I think, and we had 1,000 in women out walking maybe. That's untapped potential for another type of fitness event, I think.
Alderman Burris?
I actually just wanted to follow up on something that Wally had said. Just a reminder to South Evanstonians to use Ridgeville. We pay a special tax in South Evanston, so we have an extra line on our taxes for Ridgeville Park District. So encourage you to go use them. There's a lot of smaller parks, and I think that they do have, particularly with some of the new leadership on their board, want to work more closely with the city, and I've attended a few of their meetings, and they allow me to use their facilities for ward meetings. So I think it's a good opportunity to start reaching out and to think a little bit differently about Ridgeville. Thanks.
Alderman Jean-Baptiste?
Yes. A couple of things. One, the community picnic, I wanted to just get back to that because I had heard that there was a proposal to cancel that. Where is that discussion? Did we just resolve not to entertain that, or what? Because when I didn't see it on the list, too, I thought that maybe.
Alderman John Baptiste, members of the council, may answer that because I think it was largely coming from me. I had a conversation with Alderman Holmes several months ago, thinking about what we could do in the community in the late summer, early fall to bridge students of all ages together. We've had a focus at the community picnic over the last few years of more or less K-6, maybe K-8 students on the coming back to school. And a thought that a conversation from Alderman Holmes raised in my mind was, would there be an opportunity to reposition the community picnic perhaps in September so that it was an opportunity not only to include students K-12 but also Northwestern students. And it was something we had a very preliminary conversation about. We had talked internally about perhaps moving forward with that in 2010 because of the budget and other issues. We were not able to move forward with that. So I think I know there was internal discussions about bringing to the council some sort of readjustment of that event. We basically ran out of time, and through further discussions with members of the council, it just made sense to move forward in 2010 with that event, the fourth Sunday of August, as it has been held in the past. But I do think there is an opportunity to revitalize the community picnic, perhaps around back-to-school issues. Maybe there are other ways as well. My observation about the picnic, my first time seeing it last year, was that there was opportunities to improve it. There was a lot of staff resources presented.
But, I mean, not to eliminate.
Right, exactly. But perhaps adjust it, maybe move the time, because it was a lot of energy and effort and expense on behalf of the city that perhaps could have been better focused in a different kind of event. So that was not something that came from Parks and Rec. That was something that was initiated by me.
Okay. So
I would also just add.
You're looking at that to see how you can improve it, right?
And we're working this year We have, I think, a different set of staff members trying to broaden just the number of city staff members that are involved to try to broaden the scope of the event. So we'll try that this year, but likely would want to come back to the council either later in this year or the first part of 2011 to have that larger discussion. Because I still think that if we were to reposition it perhaps into the month of September, there could be other benefits from that event that we could have come to the city.
Alderman, excuse me, let me follow up just one other comment that it's been made twice here. In the packet that you received, in Section 3, where it says special events, on the first page in the first section, about two-thirds of the way down, the community picnic is listed, and the date of August 22nd is there. So it is listed on our list for events.
All right. The other thing I wanted to ask, I know that in a lot of, for our Starlight concerts, we have that low stage. It's almost at ground level. And during the ethnic festival and I think the arts festival as well, we rent a stage, right?
Yes, we rent a very large stage for those two events, and each time we rent it, it costs us in excess of $5,000.
$5,000? Okay. And I noticed that Skokie has one of these trailers that they have up. It's equipped, wired with sound, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know whether you guys have looked into that, whether it makes sense as a city to invest in that.
Yes, we did. It's probably the first inventor, if you want to call it that, of that type of equipment was Wenger, W-E-N-G-E-R, located out of the Midwest, and they built this, what looks like a semi-trailer. I wish I had a picture of it. And basically, they have different sizes. The size that Skokie has, and we have used Skokies on occasion, but again, it's fairly expensive when it's available and they're not using it, where the side actually folds up and the side becomes a canopy. With the proper amount of additional platforms that can be used, and the legs are adjustable so it can be used in a field if it's not level and so on, you can actually put a symphony orchestra somewhere near of 130 musicians on that stage. It comes with, I mean, it's like the old automobile. It has options. You can have air conditioning, power windows. I mean, it has a lot of, you can get the lighting or not get the lighting. You can have the name of the city on it or not have the name of the city. The last time we looked at it, we had a discussion with the 4th of July, and they were thinking possibly, and it was back when they were a little more flush, that they might consider purchasing and donating it to the city because they were continually putting out of pocket expenses for the stage that they have for the reviewing stand every year. The last time we looked into it, it was in excess of about $85,000 to purchase.
Now, Custer Street Fair, they use a big stage as well, right?
Well, they have a couple of different stages, yes.
Okay. What's the cost of renting the stage from the trailer from Skokie?
Well, there was no rental fee, but it was a fee for them to deliver it and set it up and pick it up, take it down and then pick it up. And it was based on the fact that they wanted to make sure that no damage occurred. So they required us to pay that fee. And I think this was several years ago, and I think it was somewhere between $400 and $500 for the one evening.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just thinking that, we do a major concert. We do two major events that require a big stage every year. There are other organizations that might want to use a stage like that. So we might be able to recoup our money. City manager, I'd like to see us look into that. Whether or not we make a decision is another matter. All right.
Alderman Wilson.
Since we're floating, microphone not working. I guess just to put something on your radar, in case everyone hasn't had enough cycling, there has been some interest in some groups to float the idea of a cyclocross race, which is an event that takes place in the fall on a dirt surface, and I think would be probably more accessible to residents as far as entering, as opposed to the, pro level and more elite racing we saw yesterday. So maybe be thinking of that for next calendar year.
Sure.
The suggestions were James Park, and that would definitely tear up your turf. But I guess the idea is it would be on the perimeter of the fields and on the I guess the base of the Mount Trashmore type of obstacles. So I think there are a number of people who utilize the park for that purpose as far as training presently. So another idea.
Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 3 points I'd like to make or request. The first is I'd like to try to engage Northwestern University, whose campus is relatively quiet in the summertime and where parking is abundantly available, to see what they might be willing to do in terms of are holding special events, especially concerts on the campus. I know that they do this throughout the school year. The area around Norris, they've had stages there, and it's a very nice lakefront location, but does provide a lot of parking. The second is that Alderman Grover and I met last summer when we first came on the council with students at Northwestern to float the idea of whether they would be interested in moving the homecoming parade to the downtown rather than on Sheridan Road. Now that we have so many downtown residents, we think that would be a nice promotion. I'm speaking, I think, for you, Jane, as well. If you don't want to agree with that. But it would be a nice promotion and would also be a benefit for downtown businesses and would draw residents out to attend, and that's held on a Friday evening sometime in mid-October, but that would be a good event. The third one, my point is, I'd like to hear from both Lehman and Carolyn Delutri about their feeling about more special events in the downtown, their feeling about the impact on the local economy, and whether or not that makes downtown Evanston more attractive to new business owners and investors. Carolyn and I talked about this a little bit today, but I'd like to hear from both Lehman and Carolyn about this, if possible.
Come on up, Carolyn. Lehman, where are you? There you are.
And while they're coming up, Alderman Fisk, members of the council, as part of the football game, Evanston football game we're promoting at NU at the end of September, we are looking at having a pep rally on a Thursday evening at the end of September. Probably be an hour long, but with the band and the high school band and the football team coming out. So that's something hopefully we hope to do this year, and if it's successful, maybe then incorporate it with homecoming activities in future years.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. In response to Alderman Fisk's inquiry, essentially I would strongly support the notion of there being more downtown events. I think it's very good for the merchants, it's very good for the city, provides the opportunity for Evanston residents to basically be in the downtown area and to work with existing businesses and access some of their services. It also provides the opportunity for people from outside of Evanston to come to the city and see all that we have to offer.
And I just want to add to that, when looking at doing events in your downtown district, or in any district, you want to look at whether you have, I always categorize them as 3 different types of events. You have retail events that drive sales into the businesses, something that may be like sidewalk sales, or next week we're working with a group that's doing a scavenger hunt, visiting different businesses and actually taking people into the stores. Or events like we did for the census where you go in and show something. It's a retail type activity. There's other events that you do that are image building events that create awareness and bring people downtown to see the new businesses, the goods and services and things like that. And then special events that, again, are like our It's Thursday, Let's Dance series. So I try to look at if you have a good mix of each of those. The other part that I always try to work on is looking at partnering with existing organizations and bringing the community together. We have been talking, Alderman Fisk and I talked this morning, City Manager Bob Kowitz and I had discussion Some of the businesses on Maple by the theater are looking at doing a fall event, maybe a back-to-school block party or something. We were hoping to do something this year, the third weekend in September, but the time just got past us. So we will probably be coming forward to you for next year, looking at an event and tying in with the farmers market as well on a Saturday and making it a community event and doing activities and getting our other organizations involved. So there are ways to incorporate events into your downtown district or, again, any district that can help benefit the business community. That I just believe you need to really put your thoughts into it and get other organizations involved and get the business community behind you as well so that they're in agreement with doing the event.
Thank you. Alderman Holmes? I think that answered your question, Alderman Fisk. Thank
you. My question goes all the way back. When Director Gaynor was talking about the van, did you say $85,000 was the cost? About when you looked
Yes, a few years ago when
a few years ago. Well, if you, the two events that you mentioned in terms of just renting for the Ethnic Art Festival and the Lakeshore Festival, that's $10,000. I'm assuming that you rent stages for our Starlight concerts as well?
That's correct.
So that, and if the 4th of July, it seemed like to me this, as Alderman Jean Baptiste said, it could pay for itself very, very fast. And when we talk about parking, I think that we need to look at being really creative about parking. There would be parking not necessarily near James Park, but if you did some, shuttle busing, you could deal with maybe with the high school, working some partnerships with the high school in terms of being able to use their parking lot, or some other areas where we could do things like that, not only just for James Park, but for other places that we might want to do some activities, around the city. That it just doesn't always have to be at that very spot. That we have to learn how to be creative about how we want to provide things when we don't have enough parking. So those were the two things that I wanted to add to that.
Thank you. Mr. Gaynor, I had a question. Well, I have two. One is a resident called me about the Custer Street Fair, concerned about the decibels, and do we have a decibel limit, and do we check it periodically when we have these events?
Normally, we don't check it unless we do get a complaint. I did receive, I think you forwarded that to us. We will typically at the after an event, we will do some kind of a post review and bring in the promoter of the event, the sponsor, and we'll discuss whatever it is that didn't work or did work, and so that they can prepare better for next year. This is the second year in a row that we had one complaint from Custer Fair.
And I only had one as well.
Yeah, well, it's the same one. I mean, yours and mine was one. We have a challenge. Yesterday with the cycling race, the start and finish and the actual stage where the announcer was, or where most of the activity was, you have Sherman Plaza and the Optima building right there. So we're right in the middle of a residential area, and it's very difficult to make the balance of when the announcing or the music is shut down. Is it shut down on time? We were very fortunate yesterday with the race. We fell about 50 minutes behind because of the rain, and then we had a few accidents out on the course, and yet we still finished right on time yesterday. I think that was the first time that we had it, the race did finish on time. So we're becoming more and more cognizant of the fact that if we say we're going to shut it down at 8 o'clock, we shut it down at 8 o'clock. But the decibel level, we haven't checked from time to time. We've only had, as I said, the same complaint this year as we did last year. And we do have a decibel meter. We have had complaints in other areas of the city with programs. We have checked the decibel levels, and we have found that the decibel levels coming from the activity are lower than the decibel levels from the street noise at that particular point, but that's another day's discussion.
And my last question is, Have you looked at the geographical distribution of our special events? And if you have, where would you like to put them, put new ones where we currently don't have any?
Well, I certainly would like to increase the number of special events along the canal. Budget this year, we had to cut back on our concert series. So we did eliminate a few of those. But I think the canal really presents a really wonderful opportunity for people to come out and picnic and so on. A little bit of restrictions there, for instance, lighting when the concert's over at 9 o'clock or 9:30. It does require us to bring out a generator, possibly with portable lights, but that's not something we can't do. So that's you know, we do the concert series at James Park, we do it at Harbor Park, we do it at Twiggs Park, so we're already well into bringing it away from the downtown or the lakefront. We'd like to increase the number at this point. We think geographically we're in pretty good shape. Next could be Loveless Park. It's a great opportunity out there. It's a large park, and it has the amenities that we could put some activities in, and that would cover a couple of the other areas of the town northwest that we're really not into at this point.
Thank you. Alderman Jean-Baptiste?
Yeah, this is my last comment. The Levy Center has gone through, I guess, some scheduling kind of review over the time since it's been renovated, since it was built. Initially, I think we used to allow activities to go as late as midnight, and then we had pulled stuff back to 11 o'clock. I know that not long ago we had a discussion, Alderman Tindem, when we were talking about the Youth Jobs Center, its activity, and we had talked about other activities that organizations in the community is interested in doing. And I know you have a lot of demands. I see Christina is here. I know that, you know, it's just, that place has worked all the time. What is the current policy in terms of schedule, and what's the rationale for it?
Well, right now, the activities need to start shutting down at about 10 o'clock at night, and we close down at 11. And that's been driven really by the activity because of the surrounding neighborhood. Folks on the east side of Dodge have made it clear that the activity levels need to be closed down. We, at one time, were open until midnight. The 11 o'clock time hasn't seemed to deter too much business. I think we might be able to get a little bit more, but we are pretty busy, as you indicated, on Friday, Saturday nights, rentals, and so on.
Is it really a nuisance to the neighbors to the east? I don't know whether, I mean, what's the current response?
That would be a good debate.
The decibel level, I don't know whether it's been that offensive to folks across Dodge.
Well, in the last probably 2 or 3 months, I've had only one complaint. Our staff took the decibel meter out and did check the sound coming from the music inside. We usually will check it in front of the residences in 2 or 3 spots across from Levy on the east side of Dodge. We'll check it on the west side of Dodge, right in front of the Levy Center, and we'll check it around. And as I indicated, in most cases, or in all cases, and there have been times when we first started getting these complaints that I personally went out and checked it myself with the meter. And the sound, the decibel level was greater with traffic than it was without traffic. While the music was on, the level would go up as traffic passed by. So, but we do not get very many complaints. You know, if the council so desired, we could go back to midnight and see how that worked. But as I said, I don't think right now that there seems to be a real issue with folks wanting to rent the facility past 11.
What would be the impact on revenue if we were to go?
We could give you that information, but just off the top of my head, I don't think it would be significant.
Okay. All right.
Seeing no further lights, thank you.
And Madam Mayor, before we move on to the next, I just want to review my notes from this section to make sure I didn't miss anything as far as additional follow-up. We'll look at opportunities for additional movies in the park in the summertime. We'll look at opportunities for what we're characterized as in-motion events to take advantage of some of the good work that's going on with the YWCA and the Women Out Walking. Look at potentially developing a special event near Howard Street to look at working more closely with the Ridgeville Park District on events, to investigate the purchase of a portable stage, to investigate use of Northwestern University for summer special events, and also to continue working with NU regarding moving the homecoming parade into the downtown. So those were those in the summertime. Oh, in James Park, concert in the park in James Park. Was there anything else that was missed?
Oh, I'd like to be sure that we have a reasonable geographical distribution of special events.
Like to increase concerts in the park.
Okay, and then to look into staying open until midnight at the Levy Center. And Mr. Gaynor, is that 11 o'clock at all the facilities? Or is it Levy that's?
Most of our facilities are 10.
Okay, and is it Levy currently 11?
11.
So even if you rent,
I should just qualify, Crown is open till 1, 2 in the morning because of the ice rink, so,
okay.
I mean, that is sort of a different component.
So, Madam Mayor, unless there's other.
I just
Alderman
clarification.
Holmes?
Just clarification. So if someone rents for a birthday party, anniversary party, or something, it has to be over at 10 o'clock?
We start closing it down at 10, and folks need to be out about 11.
Every center. I'm not talking about the Levy Center. At every
10 o'clock is, yeah,
Every center.
pretty much, yeah. Let me double check. Bob?
I don't know how you get doing
Yeah,
that.
the Ecology Center is 11 also, and we have a fairly good number of rentals there also.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, unless there's any other comments, we'd like to move on to the second presentation this evening. As the council is aware, with the budget that was adopted for March 1, we made a number of organizational changes regarding youth programs. I've moved the overall management and responsibility for all youth programs in the city of Evanston to Mr. Gaynor in the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Department. He is here this evening to give an overview of the work that the department is doing. We also have programs in the library department, the Community and Economic Development Department, and the police department, and those department directors are also here this evening to talk about their components. But again, really the overall management philosophy, strategic planning for our youth programs is now in Parks and Recreation, and Mr. Gaynor's here with an overview presentation, and then I believe the individual departments will have separate presentations after that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Mr. Gaynor.
Yeah, first I would like to thank you all for your suggestions for special events, and if you or any of the public has any suggestions, we're certainly open to considering them. So as I indicated at the beginning of the presentation, anybody that submits an application is considered for a special event, so whether we sponsor it or whether it's an outside agency. Okay, well, we're going to start now with a youth presentation, and we have a mission statement. It's been around for some time, and it was really developed when it was a Department of Parks, Forestry, and Recreation. This mission statement really needs to be revised to reflect the inclusion of the Facility Management and Community Services divisions. The Community Service Division includes teen and young adult services, faith-based initiatives, ADA inclusion, and consolidated senior services. The department's primary focus is to promote healthy lifestyles, provide support for families, and teach positive life skills such as teamwork and the value of persistence in hard work. The Evanston Recreation and Playground Board asks, how can we not afford recreation options for our Evanston youth? These are just some of the activities. We've thrown some photos in. There's Co-Pops, Co-Moms, the program, basketball program for high school, celebrated its 25th season this year. A canoeing program that's run out of the Ecology Center, a very popular volleyball program now out at the Clark Street Beach. How do we determine what programs are offered? Basically, it's by trends and based on demand from the community. Although community centers draw participants citywide, each center's participants tend to be concentrated from the surrounding neighborhood. Each area tends to have a slightly different interests and needs, and programs are offered based on those needs. As you can see from this slide, facilities are generally located in the middle of the city, not at the east or west extremities. Some community centers specialize in one type of activity. For instance, many programs at Chandler Newberger Center are sports-oriented. We have many partnerships. 202 is one. 65 is another. We have worked with 202 with respect to music night. We've talked about working with them and considering how we can cooperate in the rebuilding of the field house. District 65, we are using a number of their facilities as we speak in our camps year-round. Our agreement is that we use those facilities free of charge, and we are probably using 8 or 10 of those schools right now. The difficulty is, of course, and the District 65 is extremely helpful in working with us, is the only time that they can do their repairs and their capital work is when the kids are out of school. So it's really difficult for us to schedule programs in when they have to go in and put a roof on a building or whatever, but they're very cooperative, and we really appreciate that partnership. We also are partners with the YMCA, the YWCA. We use their swimming pools. We're partnering with Oakton Community College in some of our programs, Northwestern University. We have done some cooperative programming, and with BOCU. For the purpose of the presentation, in order to try to make some sense out of how many programs and where they're all situated and so on, we've tried to develop these 4 components: physical activities, cultural arts, enrichment, and volunteer opportunities. Under physical activities, just some statistics, and we're not going to really get too heavy into statistics tonight, but as an example, we have over 16,000 field rentals. And we have about 562 total hours that are committed to FAM at Fleetwood and at Robert Crown. And we talked about...
Alderman Holmes has a question, excuse me.
Mr. Gaynor, I wanted to ask in terms of the way in which you take attendance or count your numbers. As you get farther over, I had looked at, sometimes you have participants, and I'm wondering if they are the participants who might be participating in a particular activity, or are they participants who come and watch the activity. So do you make a difference between those, and how, then that's not denoted here in the numbers that you gave us tonight, correct?
I believe the numbers that we've presented tonight are participants in the program.
Okay, so
these are folks that have registered or have attended the specific program, not spectators for the program.
Okay. Okay.
The affiliate groups, and I mentioned it earlier, are just an extremely important part of our department in how we work with providing the activities that this community is involved in. There are almost 4,700 young folks, youth, that are participating in these different activities: baseball and softball, basketball, lacrosse, FAM, and it kind of continues. These numbers that are the 4657 does not represent the Tennis Association or the 4th of July program, but they are part of our affiliated program, those two that are separated by the dotted line. As I indicated again earlier, I had a number of 892 coaches in the various affiliated groups. The City of Evanston's recreation, I'm sorry, I got to do another slide. The City of Evanston's Recreation Division provides venues for its affiliated groups. Again, the affiliated groups promote the program, they handle the registration, they recruit, they retrain coaches, they train the referees, and they actually run the programs. And without them, it would be a much more difficult and much more expensive proposition for the department. Continuing with physical activities, at the Crown Center this year, and I'm going to just highlight a few. We're really pleased to announce that we have not only been able to accommodate the women's hockey program, but the men's, Northwestern University's men's club hockey program this season. It's the first time in many years that we're able to do that. At Fleetwood, the center is the site of that COPOPS and FAM. It's the FAM program is known far and wide on the North Shore as one of the best youth basketball programs around. And that probably the best example of that is how many folks that are enrolled in that program that come from outside of Evanston. The Fleetwood Jourdain staff also manages the Mason Park program, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The citywide sports programs, indoor and outdoor tennis, golf, are all run by the Chandler Newberger staff. Our special recreation program, and according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, our special recreation is mandated by law. The City of Evanston staff provides inclusion services for over 200 families, and there are over 200 participants in special recreation programs. We have 100+ Special Olympic athletes. The Ecology Center has obviously the nature education programs and sometimes include physical components such as canoeing, camping, and the Leave No Child Inside programs, which really means that most of the programs, whenever possible, are conducted outside.
Alderman Grover has a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Gaynor, getting back to special recreation, what are the types of special inclusion services the city provides?
We have a staff person who is a three-quarter time, permanent part-time person, who evaluates each individual who wishes to participate in what we call our regular programs. So if we have a Learn to Skate program at Crown, and there's a youngster who has special needs, our inclusion specialist will meet with the family, determine what those special needs are, and if at all possible, will provide assistance to get that youngster in that regular program. If that means that we have to bring in a special staff person beyond the skating instructor, we do that.
And for the children the students we cannot accommodate in our recreation programs, what do they do then? Do we refer them to other programs?
No, we have a special needs program that anyone that cannot be put into our, quote, regular programs, we have programs for special need kids also. Currently, we're using Park School for a camp for special needs children. We use Loveless Park for part of that program. We're using the swimming pools. Is it the YW? YMCA for swimming lessons for these folks.
So the 200 families, the 200 participants that you mentioned, how many of those are in the special recreation program, and how many are getting inclusion services in our regular programs?
200 and 200.
Okay, thank you.
In the cultural arts area, the summer arts camps in winter break camps that we have, the 12 concerts, the festivals that we have are all activities that are run for the Cultural Arts Division, including we have now expanded the Arts Week into the Arts and Humanities Month, which will be occurring this year. And there's a number of programs for the youth that are involved there. Fleetwood Jourdain, the community center and the theater, we're going back into that program in a much more focused way. We've got liturgical dance performances, drama, puppeteering, and drama reading series. We're expanding that program. We've brought an individual in under contract, and he seems to be really developing an outstanding program, and you'll be hearing more and more about that as we move forward. At the Levy Center, we have a really very popular, continued popular children's theater program, storytelling. In this children's theater, the youth are learning about acting, choreography, staging, lighting, costuming, stage set decorations. They kind of do it all. And it's a really very, very popular program. The Teen Battle of the Bands Camp is held at the James Park Fieldhouse. And we move into the final slide, or final actually component of the presentation. That's our enrichment program. And we start off with the fact that we're serving somewhere almost 38,000 meals over the summer to those young folks in the 3 areas. This program is totally sponsored through the state. It's funded by the Illinois State Board of Education. I think actually the funding comes from the federal government. And the easiest way to describe it is it's a continuation of the free lunch program that's offered through the schools throughout the year. And this is an opportunity for us to just continue that program at the 3 locations. We would like to open up a 4th location somewhere in South Evanston, and we're looking at that for next year.
Thank you. Does anyone have any?
Oh, we're still going.
You're rolling on.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
I got excited there for a moment.
Are there any questions? We can end it right here.
A little
Absolutely.
faster, Doug.
A little quicker?
Absolutely none. It's been so clear.
The continuation of enrichment programs, babysitting, CPR training for our young folks, cooking and computer training. The YWCA makes their pool available, as I indicated, for special recreation swimming. The Mason Park Fieldhouse, the drop-in program, was created by community volunteers and staff and is now managed by the Fleetwood Jourdain Center staff. And amenities include the computers, the video games, board games, table tennis, and cable TV. And as part of the strategic plan, the City of Evanston began programming surrounding development of its youth engagement initiative. Staff used the objectives outlined in the following goals as a model to develop a vision for the youth engagement initiative. The youth engagement program was developed to focus on 3 specific areas: recreation, restorative justice, and job training and placement. The Youth Council was developed as an opportunity for young people to have an active role in addressing issues that affect the youth. The Youth Council was to allow youth an opportunity to work on community-wide initiatives in the process and to develop these skills that we have listed. We conducted a youth summit. I believe it was the 4th annual. We had really good attendance. The focus was to develop what they thought would be the best teen center for the city and to meet their needs.
Mr. Gaynor, I have a question. The Youth Council strives to foster working partnerships between the Evanston City Council and city staff by providing a youth voice. To whom is that youth voice provided? When I've asked to meet with them, I have been unsuccessful. So who are they talking with? It's not the mayor, right?
I'm really not sure if you've asked to meet with them. Our youth coordinator is here, and I don't want to put him on the spot. We started working with this program in March, and we're developing a plan, and we've implemented a number of things that we'll be talking about or have been talking about. The Youth Council meets at least once a month. They put on the Youth Summit, and the report was sent, is in this packet that you received. It was the report. We had talked about it coming to the Human Services Committee, I believe, at least a month or so ago, but it was decided that because of this presentation this evening that we would just include it in this presentation. I'm not aware that you had asked or had, requested an opportunity to meet with the Youth Council.
Well, if that's part of their goal, it's fine if they're talking with someone else, but I would love to be able to go to one of their meetings sometime, so I'm putting that request out publicly.
When's the next meeting?
We meet less frequently over the summer. It's not.
You need to talk in the microphone.
Just when's the next meeting? We'll invite you to the September meeting. It hasn't been scheduled yet.
Thank you very much. Alderman Jean-Baptiste?
You said that the objective of the youth engagement initiative, you said there were three. One was to generate marketable job skills for Evanston resident. Could you repeat them again?
Certainly. As I understood it.
Board of Justice.
You could put the slide back up, because I think it's a couple slides back.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, I see them. 3 areas.
Yes, at the bottom, the last sentence.
Recreation, restorative justice, and job training and placement. Can I ask you, because I thought that at the time that the Youth Engagement Initiative, when that program was first started, it was to intentionally intervene in the lives of the youth who were falling through the cracks. You want me to repeat that?
No, I understand. Is you have a question?
How are we doing that?
Well, I think that...
Tell me how those youth, because how long has this program been in existence?
Years or 4? So, 3 or 4 years. It's been 3 years, I believe.
Tell me how those youth would sum up their relationship to the youth engagement program.
Well, I think
Give me a sense, because let's be clear. A couple statements ago, you say you don't want to put anybody on the spot. This is part of the discussion. We've got to be able to engage and have some answers so we could have proper direction, right? So help me understand how these youth would sum up their interaction, their experience with this program.
Well, in my discussions with the city manager, as we were discussing bringing this program into our department, I had made several statements. The first was that I believed that the department was already very much involved in providing an outstanding recreation opportunity for the youth in this community. And I didn't think that we really needed to have the youth coordinator focus in that area, with the exception if that youth coordinator felt that there was a program that wasn't there. It was not for the youth coordinator, in my opinion, to actually do the programming. I believe that if somebody were to come to me today and say, we need to do this X program, that it would not take our professional staff very long to have that program implemented. So more as an advisor on recreation than a recreation program person. So I really have taken the recreation piece out of that youth coordinator's role at this point, other than an advisor. Restorative justice, I have met with both the city manager and the police chief, and we've discussed what programs we should be involved in and what programs maybe we shouldn't. And as an example, we've been working with not only our youth coordinator, but as one of our community outreach members in our department, which came over with the community services program, to begin a reentry program. We're working with the Cook County Sheriff's Department. And in short, what this program is to take those young folks, ages 14 to 25, who have become somewhere incarcerated and are starting to look at coming out, whether it's 2 months before they come out or 3 weeks before coming out, and trying to work with them to make sure that they have a place to live, that they have a job, or if they need job training, to sort of intervene at this point before they hit the streets, before they are on the street and now standing on the street and not involved and don't have a place to go, but to do that in advance. And we've been working on that program now for the last probably 60 days, and we're looking at how we can get more involved and how we can implement that program. I think another example of the collaboration that we have is when I mentioned the Put Illinois to Work program. That was an effort between our Fleetwood Jourdain staff and our youth coordinator in getting folks together, coming off the street, and getting them involved in activities. This particular activity is work, and getting them a paycheck, giving them some training. So there's been some, what I consider established efforts to move forward with this. I really can't comment on what happened prior to March 1 and who was doing what, because it wasn't part of our operation in my department. But I know that since we've had it on, we've had a number of meetings with the city manager, the police chief, the community development director, and the director of the library to look at what we can do with youth in all areas with respect to our youth engagement program.
Okay. And by the way, all youth who may be falling through the cracks are not in jail right now. I mean, I understand that.
And we're working.
So.
Well, and there's another piece. Yeah, there's a number of pieces to this. We're trying to find out how we can enhance the vocational education programs at the high school in the evening. There was some efforts of moving some of these folks, as you've indicated, and I'm not sure the total definition of youth that have fallen between the cracks. Our definition is possibly those youth that have not graduated from high school, have fallen out of high school, that don't really want to stay in school, or those that have graduated but really aren't going on to college. And that's sort of a group that we've looked at as focusing on. What can we do to provide vocational education programs so that they can find a job? If we see someone on the street who's working on their car, we're thinking that might be a great candidate who could get into a vocational education program and eventually become someone who would be working in a bump shop as a mechanic or whatever, because it seems like that might be something that they're very interested in. So we're going down that path and trying to find ways that we can include these folks, as you've coined it, as those that have dropped through the cracks. And that's where our focus is now with those folks.
Okay, good.
Let's see. So we've talked a little bit about the Youth Summit. I want to talk about, maybe very quickly, the referrals. Folks that we're working with that are and many of them are funded through our CDBG program at the city. We're working with the Evanston Skokie School District 65. We're working with 202. We're working with Family Focus, both YM and YWCA. We're working with ALAN, and ALAN is a list of those agencies and individuals, and it's in your packet. They focus on combining training resources and finding ways to share information about youth in crisis more efficiently. And it was not me.
Poltergeist.
We'll continue to participate in these initiatives. And I mentioned vocational referrals. One of the things we have been talking about with the city manager and our community and economic development director is the placement of folks who do get trained and how we can get them into businesses here in town that would benefit both the businesses as well as these individuals who we want to get in training. So we have internal and external training, internal and placement. Internal would be those that are being employed here in the city. And we have a number of those. We talked about the Illinois to Work folks. We have 40 employees. Keep reminding me to change this slide. We have 40 employees, ages 18 to 25, state and federal government, totally pays for this program. We do training. The government subsidizes. It's 4 months. It ends in the end of September. And our youth receive training in hard and soft skills such as appropriate dress for the workplace, arriving at work on time, maintenance skills, and office management skills. And we have, as you can see, we have them located in a number of our facilities throughout the city. And I must say, for the most part, they're very hungry to do a good job, and they've done, as I say, in most cases, a great job for us. And they have helped us because it has saved us dollars in hiring other folks where we would have had to bring somebody on and probably pay them. Volunteer opportunities. As I said, we have counselor and training programs that we have, and it's a really good program because it gets young folks started, and if they do a good job, we're hiring them the next year or the year that they become eligible as far as age is concerned. We hire about 335 summer seasonal employees under age 25. Our department payroll goes up to almost 600. That says 400 to 500 here, but it goes almost up to 600 in the summertime. And 95% of the seasonal employees are Evanston residents. We can get into some of these statistics here about youth and what's so important in this youth engagement program that we have. In statistics, 21.8 million youth under the age of 21 were arrested in 1992. That's a huge number, and just look at the number that it costs to work with them in incarceration, $2.3 billion. So, I mean, there's definitely a need for us to get involved. And if you look at, for instance, in the costs for keeping folks in detention, you've got $76,000 annual cost per inmate in a minimum security, and at a medium security, it's $96,000 annually for one person inmate. It's extremely expensive, and there's an ad, I guess, that's come out years ago about oil. I'm not even sure the name of the company, but you can pay us now or you can pay us later. And unless we are preemptive in working with our youth, we're going to pay the big dollars later on. So I think that the final thing I would like to just talk about a little bit is the financial aspect of the department as it pertains to our youth. Our estimated total annual revenue is about $3.7 million, and our total expenses are $7.6. The estimated cost per person for our services, and this is for youth, is approximately $61.75, or per household for our services,
Look like
120.
51, Doug.
I think it's a 5.
Look like a 5 there.
Okay. I'm trying to read it here and try to read it here, but yeah, thanks. Estimated cost for our service is $51.75, and for a household, it's $129.59. I think that's a pretty good comparison when we flip back to see what it costs annually for an incarcerated person. We have an annual fee assistance program which is not reflected in the budget, and what that means is if you meet certain economic criteria, most of our programs you would be able to enroll in at least 50% reduction.
Do you have to fill out a form and
Yes, you do.
prove all of that?
Yes, you do.
How many people do that?
I don't have a number, but anyone, I mean, we advertise this in our magazine, and which is online and so on, and anybody that comes in that fills it out, we accommodate. We also, I think that includes the free beach tokens that are given away each year.
Well, at least some of them you don't have to fill out any form. Alderman Holmes?
So we are starting with a deficit of $3,850,606. And I know this is not a budget session, but we don't have any way of knowing how this breaks out in terms of the centers and where where this deficit amount, and that's the amount I'm looking at, is a deficit amount, where that breaks out in terms of the programs that are offered and how that would even fit in with the fee assistance in terms of where those folk would fall under what centers, what programs, what departments. Will we get that during the budget season?
We can certainly provide you with a breakdown of where the fee assistance programs are and who's, in what numbers, what centers. I think the subsidy that you're talking about, the over $3 million subsidy, is really in the hard costs. It's part of my salary, it's part of Bob Dornicker's salary, it's part of the manager's salaries. Right now, most every one of the programs that we operate is self-sustaining. So, as an example, when we discussed a few years ago whether we would have free beach tokens or not, the token program, the season token program at the lakefront is a break-even program. It costs us almost the same amount of money to operate as it does what we receive in revenue. So it's almost a break-even program. Now, this year we might make a little money on it because it's so warm and we're really doing some outstanding sales. But if it's cold next year, we may lose a few dollars. But all of our programs break even. But again, it's the overhead costs. It's the cost of the city manager. It's the cost of the accounting department, the legal department. We don't have an overhead charge for those expenses. So, Alderman Holmes, in trying to respond to your question, that's where that cost is. If you look at a ballet class or you look at a karate class and so on, if we don't reach a certain break-even point in registration, and we can't get anybody to get to that point, then we probably don't run the program.
Okay, so then that $3 million is cost that we'd have to pay anyway, because we certainly would have to have you guys for other things. So I think looking at a breakdown would be very, very helpful.
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
City Manager, did you have a question?
Actually, Madam Mayor, I have a question on behalf of Alderman Rainey. She had asked a question regarding the fee assistance programs. Is anyone ever turned away, or is there always sufficient funds to meet the demand for scholarships?
Well, the answer to the question is no one's turned away, and it's not that we give money away. When someone comes in the door and meets the criteria, we register them at 50%. So the city's not out of pocket. I guess the two issues we have is if we didn't have the scholarship program, there would be several hundred young folks who would not participate because of the cost. The other part of that is that's $140,000 in revenue that we're not receiving because we're discounting the program for that youth.
Thank you.
Alderman Grover?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Gaynor, the financial information refers to the finances for all youth programs?
That's correct.
All youth programs. And Alderman Holmes, the breakdown that you were looking for was a breakdown as to which programs were indeed self-sustaining, which were revenue generating, and which ones we do subsidize for the programming?
Absolutely, to look at so that we can see it, in terms of where this is actually, where the expenses actually are in terms of that. Yeah, that'd be very helpful for me.
And me too. Thank you.
Alderman Jean-Baptiste?
Yeah, I would caution us not to look at, what it's costing us as a deficit. I mean, we pay the taxes. The parents pay taxes for their kids to get this kind of service. This is a core service that the city provides for our youth. And even the youth who are coming in and are getting 50% discount, and their parents are part of the tax base of the city. So it's just 50% of what cost we've set, okay? And that cost is, we've lowered it for certain folks who meet certain criteria. But we shouldn't view it as giving away anything.
Alderman Jean-Baptiste, my question is generated because parents are asking, Nobody wants to pay any more taxes. Everybody's asking about why does things cost so much? Where is it going? I'm just trying to understand that so that as we get ready to get into the budget season, we need to understand what it's actually costing us. If I certainly want people to have fee assistance, and I know for a fact that there are young people who may not be able to participate if we did not have that. And so we certainly know how to do that. But if we are providing programs that are not, that cannot be self-sustaining, I think we need to reevaluate those and look at them. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm 2 years ago, 3 years ago, same thing, you know, when I had the child care thing. See, I still look at those programs because I think that we need to look at all of those kinds of programs that we have in the city that do not pay for themselves, that we have to maybe look at other alternatives.
Well, I think when we talk about pay for themselves, I mean, it's a misnomer, in my opinion, in this arena because,
No, it's
you know,
not.
the taxpayers, the parents are paying for these services. So, you know, we don't need to get into more of a pay-to-play kind of culture, kind of pattern, kind of practice here because eventually if we keep pushing in that direction, we will exclude some of our youth. So, and I do know that some of the parents are concerned about the fees that they pay at particular places in order for their kids to play. But I think that we need to protect what we have going and try not to move in the direction, even as we get into budget season. I don't want to get into that right now, but we have to look at it from the perspective that the parents are already paying taxes for their kids to participate in these activities.
City Clerk?
I keep hearing criteria, but I don't think any criteria has been mentioned about how the taxpayers, what gives them the, what do they have to come up to make sure that they get these fees? We all pay taxes, but the thing is there a certain criteria set for getting the fees that we're talking about to assist these kids to come into the programs they want to participate in?
Yeah, we're using federal guidelines.
Alderman Burris?
And I apologize in advance for not knowing this, but I don't have a child that is of an age that would participate. But on the registration form, is there a place to mark, I would like to sponsor a child that, for fees, to sponsor another child? So do we give that opportunity? There is one there?
We do encourage it, and in fact,
Okay.
we expanded that program. The Recreation and Playground Board started a program that we, for beach tokens. So when somebody came in and was buying a beach token, and we asked them, would you like to make a donation for someone who can't afford a beach token? And it's been pretty successful. We've been able to expand that program.
Great. I think it's an opportunity for the development person to definitely look at with our various, not only these type of programs, but on other applications of, do you want to, you know, not necessarily donate maybe directly, you know, just write a check, but to a special program for other kids or sponsor a kid. Thanks.
Alderman Grover?
Just another program that we may not be aware of is that District 65 has a middle school sports program that it runs through its middle schools, and I think it's 3 years now in the running, and there are approximately 500 students participating, and it runs the gamut of sports, and it's pretty much 3 seasons, and the university contributes for the funding to that middle school sports program. But of course, the program is again in jeopardy because the school's funding is.
Right. We assisted with that program a few years ago by getting a tennis grant. We were able to provide tennis rackets and tennis balls as well as instruction, and then we left the tennis balls and tennis rackets at those schools.
And all of the competitions happen in those after-school hours, so it's been a big success.
Sure. Well, I'm going to wrap up by showing just a few of the future improvements that we think we've identified, but we certainly would like to get more input from you. Spanish-speaking youth, we need to focus on more there. Additional sites for after-school programs, more activities for the high school age youth, providing a shuttle service, something that we've identified that the youth would like to go to programs in the evenings, but it's very difficult when the program lets out at 9, 10, or 11 for them to actually feel safe in getting home. And we need to figure out how we can deal with that. So we're looking at, for no better description other than some type of a shuttle service. Of course, the youth engagement program and the youth summit talked about creating a teen center. And then I'll always put the plug in to rebuild the Robert Crown Center. The barriers that we have are certainly something that Alderman Holmes just brought up. It's obviously funding is tough. So we're looking at ways to offset our revenues. As I indicated, all of our programs are self-sustaining. And we also have found other ways when we have created, and this is an example where we wanted to purchase sailboats and kayaks, didn't have the money. We're able to convince administration that we could pay for those pieces of equipment within 2 years. They'd last several years. We did, in fact, accomplish that, and we now have some very successful aquatics programs in teaching and renting out these watercraft. Strategic change that we anticipate, we're going to flood fewer rinks next year. We had a very bad year this year. It was up and down with weather, and I think we just took on too many, so we're going to do some more strategic geographic planning on where we place those. We're going to do some more outreach to increase the participation with our youth council. We're going to spend a lot of time working on our restorative justice piece that I talked about, as well as the enhancement of the vocational education opportunities. And a new program that we're going to be trying to start over at ETHS is a lifeguard program, teaching lifeguarding skills to some of the ETH folks, especially minorities, to try to get them more involved in our life-saving program and working at our beaches. And that really concludes the program. And any questions?
Alderman Jean-Baptiste.
We sort of glanced over the restorative justice aspect of the work that the Youth Initiative program does. Can we hear more about it? Because I'm sure that the listening audience would like to know what it entails and what does it do, and what kind of success we've had with it, and whether or not, when we say we intend to expand that, what does that mean?
Are you speaking of the reentry program that I sort of mentioned?
Restorative justice.
Well, that's part of the restorative justice program.
Well,
the reentry program from...
that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about the process that has been in use at the high school, and I think Saul intends to spread it to the community, where youth who have been involved in, offensive actions are sort of brought before their peers, and they're engaged in the process of not only restoring themselves, but making amends for the wrong that has been done. So if they could talk more about it.
I think Saul can come up and probably be more specific. There's at least 2 or 3 areas that he's been working on. I know that Superintendent Witherspoon sent an email over to us today. 202 did support our truancy ordinance that we've been working on. So I know we were waiting for 65 to weigh in on that, and then it'll be brought back to council. So that's part of what I think you're talking about, but I think Sal can probably elaborate some more.
I think the police chief might help too, because certainly the committee that I've been on has been working with through the police department on restorative justice.
And the majority, a lot of that program will be discussed during the police department's portion of the presentation. However, there is a coalition involving the school districts, the police department, the youth coordinator, youth engagement initiative called Restorative, and some community members called Restorative Justice Evanston. And what we've been working on is building restorative justice programming into different community institutions. And basically what restorative justice is it's, I mean, I guess a watered-down definition is, and it was in the slide, but it's really just an opportunity where victims, offenders, and the community work together to make restitution for a harm that was done to the community, whether it's through a criminal act or something along those lines. Some of the programs that are in existence, as I mentioned, there's the restorative justice program at the police department, which will be discussed in further detail later in the presentation. But there's also the peer jury program at Evanston Township High School, which deals with offenses of the violations of different school codes and rules that allows students an opportunity to work with students that they may have wronged and kind of build relationships and gives you skills to deal with conflict in a way that ensures that conflict won't reoccur. We also are working on a community accountability board that is going to deal with chronically truant students to help in a restorative way understand the reasons behind the truancy. Because most students don't just skip school because they don't like school. They don't like school because they're struggling with academic skills, or they don't feel like they have a strong peer group, or they don't feel connected to the school. So that program will help get at those issues and refer students to appropriate programs or help them build relationships that can deal with those problems. We're also, with the reentry program, investigating some ways to do restorative justice with students who are outside of that high school age, with the 18 to 25-year-old population that also fits under our definition of youth. And that we're still in the exploratory phase. There is research that indicates that restorative justice programming is more effective with adults than it even is with youth. So we're looking at ways that we can build that in and doing some advocacy. We'll be doing some advocacy at the Skokie Courthouse and with some other judges in the community to see if there's a way to build that program as a part of the restitution that an offending young adult can do to repair the harm that they may have done to the community. So.
Alderman Jean-Baptiste, one of the things that's really very difficult as we're trying to pursue and move forward with this is the age groups. The youth starts at 0 and goes to 25. And we certainly don't want a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old who's an adult working in an age group with 21 and above who can drink. So we're trying to categorize, is it high school age, is it middle school age, is it elementary, and then where do we go with this? So there's a lot of little components that we're all trying to put together to make this whole thing work. But I think that we're on the right track and we're moving forward, and we'll be giving reports to the council as we continue to move forward.
And Madam Mayor, members of the council, unless there's other questions of Mr. Gaynor, we'd also like an opportunity to have brief presentations by the other departments that have component parts of this initiative. And the next is our Community and Economic Development Department. Mr. Walker.
Madam Mayor and members of council, I have hard copies of the PowerPoint presentation for distribution. Members of council, the first slide just essentially provides a history of the program that was created in 1992, identifies some of the key factors that led to the development of the program, essentially youth employment, rise in youth violence and related criminal activity, lack of organized and affordable youth activities. The eligibility guidelines for participants include them being a resident of Evanston or attending school district number 65 or 202, between the ages of 14 and 18, and eligible to work in the U.S. The mission of the program is described here, essentially to enrich the lives of Evanston youth by providing meaningful entry-level jobs and essential soft skills training, and the vision is to make Evanston the most livable city in America through meaningful and creative youth development services. It should be recognized that the youth employment program really is kind of an avenue for many of Evanston's youth as their first real job opportunity and a first opportunity to develop skills that are important in the workplace as far as coming to work on time and following instructions and essentially being responsible. The core values are confidence, pride, and respect. And all of the youth essentially take a pledge that they'll report ready to work, they'll perform to the best of their ability, demonstrate confidence, pride, and respect, assist co-workers and job coaches, and make healthy choices at work and in life. The program is essentially marketed through flyers, posters, presentations, workshops, and the job fair that takes place every spring, the mayor's annual job fair that occurs in the spring. This year there were over 500 youth who attended the job fair in April. These are some of the employers, this year's employers for the program in the public sector. We have the library and the city service center, the city manager's office, the fire department. Virtually all of the city departments are involved in that. We've been successful in partnering to some extent with the private sector, and include the YMCA, the Salvation Army, Northwestern University, and others that are identified on that particular slide. These are some of the statistics associated with the program. 515 youth registered during the job fair, some pre-registered through the website. Others have provided feedback via a survey that was conducted. Just in terms of some of the accomplishments so far this year, 118 alleys have been cleaned as of 7/12/10. More than 70% of the youth jobs are filled by City of Evanston departments, the city essentially employing them directly. Job fair volunteers are identified, and just some historic statistics included on this slide that 6,000 youth registered for the job fair since 1992, and over 2,700 youth have been employed since 1992. Each year, at the beginning of the program, there's an orientation for the employees and for their parents. This year, we had an overflow in the Parasol room for the new orientation. We had several of the youth participating, and it was good to see that so many parents as well came to learn about details of the program and get some understanding of the expectations as well as the program rules. There's a community service team associated with this program that works on performing various community service, landscape maintenance, and cleanup projects. I'm sure that some of the council members may have seen some of the green team members throughout the community active in doing a lot of cleanup work. This slide essentially provides some background on the job variety of the youth employed in the program. There are 142 youth in this year's program, and they're working in a variety of areas. Office support as camp counselors, the green jobs, as I indicated in the previous slide, building maintenance as well. We have a 50-50 employer incentive program, and this is essentially to ensure that we have some participation and increase employment opportunities for the youth. We've identified some of the participants with the YMCA, the Actors Gymnasium, Crave Ice Cream, the Baha'i National Center, and the Salvation Army. Soft skills training and field trips. As I indicated earlier, it's very important, since this is really the introduction to a lot of our youth to the workforce, that they acquire some basic skills. We also try to provide some summer educational opportunities as well through field trips to different sites of interest where there's some learning opportunities as well. All of the youth who participate in the program complete an individual employee success plan, and they are subjected to evaluations, so they get some idea of their strengths and weaknesses and future development opportunities. There's recognition of outstanding job performance through the employee incentive program. And community outreach is an essential component of the program, and as I indicated earlier, you'll see many of the youth who participate in the program quite active in landscape maintenance and recycling, and participating in doing some of the cleanup associated with some of the outdoor events. I had the opportunity yesterday to attend the Ethnic and Cultural Arts Festival, and I was pleased to see several of the youth participants in the program involved in the cleanup. This provides some background in terms of the program funding. It's primarily funded through general fund and community development block grant dollars. This is another slide essentially showing where the money is coming from for the program. 89% of the funding is coming from the general fund, 11% through the CDBG. Participant demographics. This shows the breakdown by both race and by gender. And this provides the location of where the youth are employed. Gives an indication of how many youth are working in each one of the job locations. And next steps for the program. We're really interested in increasing partnerships with private sector businesses, community organizations, and educational institutions. It's important that we look for external funding opportunities. The city has been the main provider of funds for this particular program, and it's important that we look for outside opportunities. We currently are doing that. And also exploring the opportunity of looking at a year-long program, much, of course, will be tied directly to funding considerations. And that concludes my brief presentation. Are there any questions?
Apparently not. Thank you very much.
Seeing none, Madam Mayor, I just want to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to all members of City Council and yourself, and certainly to the City Manager for the support that you've provided me with during my time in Evanston. I've really appreciated working here. This is an excellent place to be. The Council is excellent. You have a first-class City Manager, and I will miss Evanston very much.
We're going to miss you very much as well.
Next, Chief Eddington's here to talk a little bit about the police department's role with youth services.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Alderman, City Clerk, City Manager. This will be a brief overview, but I want to take a moment to introduce Commander Aretha Hartley, who runs the Juvenile Division and coordinates all the services. Will be speaking tonight. Commander, if you'd stand up. And also Patricia Quayle is here this evening, who is works both some youth services cases and also some victim service bureau cases. Thank you. We're going to talk about the Juvenile Bureau, School Resource Officers, Youth Service Bureau, Outreach and Victim Services. The Juvenile Bureau is once again the traditional part of the police department. This is our investigative initiatives that involve youth offenders, and this is typically how you envision a police department interacting with youth. I'll take any questions on that later in the evening, but this is very traditionally what we do. Sergeant Brian Henry assists Commander Hartley in the management of this portion of the unit. I want to talk briefly about our school resource officers. Detective Wright, Detective Davis, and Detective Jordan work these assignments. And I think the most significant change in recent years in this particular unit is Detective Wright, who's assigned to ETHS, has begun teaching several introductory criminal justice classes as part of the curriculum out there. And I think this is a significant change, and also more and more effort to developing that partnership. Youth Services Bureau, this is where we focus on at-risk youth who have experienced crises, both crime and non-crime related. Also, this is the unit that does handle the restorative justice. And I think if you look at that definition, restorative justice conferencing, victim offender conferencing, incidents of youth crime, multifamily conferencing, and mediation of conflicts involving youth, and peace circles that youth peer mediation. In 2009, we engaged in one of those three activities 34 times, and so far in 2010, we have engaged in one of those activities 22 times year to date. Our outreach program, these two youth workers try to engage at-risk youth, and once again to pirate Alderman Jean-Baptiste's line of kids falling through the cracks. These two youth workers are out there to actively engage kids on street corners that are at risk. one of the things that they do that's not generally known is they help youths that they come in contact with complete job applications. They help youth through those applications 15 to 20 times a week, and so we are focused on out-of-the-box solutions to youth being on street corner. The Victim Service Bureau is next, and they have handled approximately year-to-date 18 youth-related cases where youth were victims or somehow involved in the victimization. Each of these bureaus networks together to share information. Commander Hartley has done an excellent job in that unit. This is one of the administrative changes that I made when I came to Evanston, is creating this cohesive unit where all the services were under one boss and directed by one boss. It's very efficient. The information exchange is exceptional, and these men and women assigned to this unit get a lot of work done for the youth in Evanston. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Alderman Grover.
Thank you again. I think what surprised me when I did the Citizen Police Academy is that we have, in essence, a social services agency within our police department. And a lot of the work that's done is not law enforcement, but rather social work. And do we have on-staff social workers? Are some of the team that you've gathered?
Yes, we
They
do.
are-
In the four people that are assigned to both victim services and youth services, all engaged, have their social work degrees, and once again, as we proactively, not always proactively, but as we identify youth that need further attention that would benefit from our interaction with them, and frankly, because of the ambiance of the police station, oftentimes we will collect the youth that have not done well in other counseling programs and that the parents feel they need a more authoritarian setting to make a point, and so we have developed that niche quite well, and our youth workers are exceptional at filling that niche.
That was my next question, is what advantage our Evanston Police Department has over the myriad social service agencies in Evanston that address youth and do case management for youth, and it's that you've got their attention in a different way.
We have their attention in a different way, and also oftentimes there's an exasperation factor with parents that this is they're trying to prevent further criminality or crises, and they come to us to attempt to do that. And also the juvenile detectives, both in the schools and investigating cases, are able to interact and network with the youth service workers, and I think they get a better picture of the issues and the extended issues, not just the truancy or the shoplifting or the criminal damage to property. It's what is the entire family situation that is impacting on this
Not
youth.
just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
You're dealing with the iceberg.
Yes.
Youth services. Yeah, great.
Alderman Jean-Baptiste.
Chief, community services has taken on a real negative connotation among a number of the youth because so many of them have been sort of sentenced to community services. My office was able to participate in, providing the venue for some kids to do community services. And during that period of time, I developed a real good relationship with these kids. And I'm wondering whether or not your department has reached out or have these type of relationships where maybe businesses in the community might be able to, take in some of these youth to give them something to do. Because sometimes when they go to a general community service center, they just fall through the cracks. They just go there to do time instead of participating in some productive activities. So what's going on with that?
I think the Youth Service Bureau has a history of maintaining those relationships. We also avail ourselves to other city departments and private partners throughout the community, and positive things, so that it's just not you've been sentenced to community service and you've got to wash squad cars or clean something. We have placed youth that needed to fulfill that commitment in everything from auto body shops to soup kitchens to other private concerns that we partner with. And so we have done, I think, our best to take the connotation of punishment out of it and at the same time put them in an environment so there's some positive things that occur. And I think those are our success stories where we're able to expose kids who are involved in some youthful transgression, that we can get them on a different path. And we have many community partners that assist us with that.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, Alderman Rainey. How did that light go on?
I just want to say, sorry I wasn't here for the whole presentation, but Erica Barton with the Restorative Justice has been wonderful to work with, so thank you for having such a great person on staff.
No, they all do exceptional work, and Patrice is here this evening and also works in that area. And Commander Hartley does a very good job of managing a very diverse workflow and getting out a good product.
I would have to agree with Alderman Burris and with you. The people there working on restorative justice and doing everything they can to help Evanston youth are doing a fabulous job.
Thanks. I'll make sure their unit hears your comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, one final piece of our youth program is in the Evanston Public Library. Mary Johns, its director, is here and is going to talk briefly about the work we do with youth at the library.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of the council, city manager. We like to think that we cover life from cradle to grave, and we do that by lifelong learning. And this is a fancy way to say lifelong learning, but we concentrate on making sure that we can provide services for all of our residents so that they can become productive members of our community. So what does that mission mean for youth services? To us, it means that all kids experience the pleasure of reading, the joy of learning, and the fun of discovery, and that parents and caregivers can find the resources that they need. This may be both in terms of the materials in the libraries as well as programs that we offer for parenting, and that kids enter school ready to read. Clearly, we have the first shot at kids. Family learning is certainly one of the primary goals that we have in this piece, and certainly we all have read that modeling reading is a key to child development, and so we try to encourage that opportunity as much as possible, both in terms of the programs that we provide and in helping families understand that. Clearly, we provide a lot of story times. This is just a sampling of the kinds of story times that we do, and these are aimed at certainly different age groups, different topics in terms of the stories that are told. We do some bilingual story times. We've recently hired a reference librarian who does speak Spanish, and so we're doing some additional work with Spanish-speaking families. We also go to schools to do story times, as well as have groups that come in addition to the individual families that take advantage of the story times. A program that we're particularly proud of is the LEAP program. And this is a program that was actually developed by our staff based on a national initiative. And we partner with District 65 and the Foundation 65 to provide service. These two young gentlemen are learning how to run a flower shop. LEAP stands for Literacy Education at Play. And during the process of these programs, the kids are learning literacy components without ever really thinking or us talking about the word literacy. And rather, this particular one, they're learning to take orders at a pizza shop and making the pizza and serving it. And there's one with laundry where they learn to sort clothes by color and do the laundry, take care of putting the coins in the machine and that sort of thing. So they're learning life skills while they're playing. And this has been a very successful program and has been expanded in the school district as well. For the slightly older kids, we have a summer reading game, which is our major program for kids, though we certainly do programs throughout the year that relate to these kids. The picture here is kids who are registering for the summer reading game. And as several people have mentioned, the Summer Youth Employment Program, the young woman who's registering them is an SYEP student, and we have a number of SYEP kids that are helping with a number of programs in the library this summer, and we would like to keep them for a very long time. They're doing a great job for us. But the summer reading program, or the summer reading game as we call it, is important because it keeps kids and books connected over the summer. And certainly kids get prizes for reading, but we hope that along the way they learn to read for the fun of it and that the prize is secondary. We make sure that each child gets, as they complete parts of the program, get their own book. It's important that kids have their own book to take home with them. And quite honestly, this is important because it does indeed close the reading gap. And there's just a study released recently from Dominican University Graduate School of Library Science that supports the notion that children who participate in public library summer reading programs do better in school than kids who don't. So we're going to keep that up. And as a way to do that, we have this summer, without knowing about the study at that time, added some summer reading stops to our offerings. We have been doing programs at Fleetwood Jourdain and Robert Crown for some time, but we extended that this summer so that kids could sign up for the summer reading program. We typically do that through the schools at the end of the school year, and we visit all the schools in the classrooms and make sure that kids have the opportunity. We also have now added another stop, which is at the Evanston Plaza, and yes, we're having an open house tomorrow. This was an opportunity where we could take the summer reading game to another part of the community where kids may not have signed up through schools or have a resource close by. And again, we will offer the same kinds of summer reading game activities, as well as we also have some computers at that stop and some adult materials as well. The loft is certainly an area that many of you have heard about and is one of the prideful points in the library. And certainly the same mission applies to our work with youth. But what does it mean for young adults? Well, it means that they have the opportunity to discover their own story. And for anyone who has young adults or has worked with young adults or knows young adults or ever was a young adult, you know that discovering our own story is a pretty important part of what happens during that transition period. And so we try to offer the opportunity for kids to exchange ideas and explore issues. One that happened recently was on an early out day at the schools. We had a whole bunch of kids in the library, and so we did a podcast, and their discussion was violence, and what does violence mean to them, and how do they react, and when it occurs, what do they do? So they had very thoughtful and insightful discussions, and we try to provide that opportunity on a regular basis. And then we really just want kids to, actually come to the library, read, and have fun, and we go out to the schools and meet with the kids. We have one librarian who does book reviews during the week at the high school, and then we have several that go to middle schools as well. We try to make sure that the kids have an opportunity for community connections, and whether that is working with a group or being a part of a group. So we do a lot of partnering with groups like YOU and the YMCA. And as I mentioned before, we've done things at Fleetwood Jourdain. This summer we have several groups that are coming to the library from the summer camps. Book clubs and book talks are a big part of what the kids are doing. A particularly interesting one to us is one that we're doing with Whole Foods. And so the kids select a book that they're reading, and it certainly clearly has a food topic. And then they go to Whole Foods and they either cook a meal, or there was one on chocolate, which of course I don't know why I wasn't invited to. They also do author interviews. An author read about a review of a book he had written by kids in the loft, and so he happened to call the loft one day and talked with the kids while they were there. That was pretty interesting for them. So again, we're taking those programs both out to other sites as well as doing those book discussions and book talks in the library. We have some particular programming activities that appeal to a fairly wide range of the young adult population. Part of those are designed by the Teen Advisory Board, and this group was very instrumental at the time we developed the loft, and they had a lot of input in what the physical arrangement was, what kinds of activities and programs they wanted to have, and they continued to do that and take pride even though they weren't there when the loft was created. But there's an ownership piece that is pretty impressive with what happens with the kids in the loft. And so these pictures actually show a Wizard Rock concert where the community meeting room was packed. The fire chief is gone, right? And we also do a variety of programs within the loft itself, whether it be workshops. Trashy Fashion was one where one young woman made a dress out of duct tape, and all of those kinds of things. Junior Science Cafe that we do with Northwestern has been a very successful program. All of these things give kids another opportunity to make decisions and choices about what they want to do. And we hope that they choose these positive ones. An interesting program that we do is called Teen Theater, and actually the group that does this is called Book, Bodacious Oracles of Knowledge, and they came up with that themselves. So they take a young adult novel and they turn it into a play. And this year they're doing a book called Sledding Hill, and it's by Chris Crutcher, who's a very well-known young adult author. This book is about censorship, freedom, and ghosts. And so he learned about this project of turning his book into a play, and he is coming for the production of that play and will spend time doing questions and answers with the kids. So again, they get to meet the author as well as having discussions about his works. Project Excite is a new one that we're doing this year in partnership with Northwestern University. And this actually is a program aimed at minority students in math and science. And one of our reference librarians has a daughter in the group and convinced them that there should also be a reading component. So they come to the library weekly and participate in all kinds of discussions on books. And one mother told us that her son never cared about the library, didn't want to go to the library. It was one of those deals, and now he loves it. So we were happy to hear that. The Loft is truly a gathering place for both study and socializing. During the year, we provide college prep advising, how kids can prepare for college exams, how to find money for going to college. We have internet access. We do a number of workshops on resumes and job hunting for kids. We post job ads so that kids have the opportunity to seek employment. And then because it is 2010, and social media is an important part of everybody's life, and these kids are truly savvy, we try to make sure that we're able to connect with them where and how they want to connect with us. And so we're using all of these various kinds of media. I've looked at some of the texting that comes through with kids, and it's great. The questions they ask, the responses they have. And an exciting piece for the kids tomorrow is that they will be Skyping with an author in the afternoon. So we're hoping that, pardon me?
What's Skyping?
Skyping, that's the telephone via or internet. And so it's an exciting thing for kids to be able to talk to authors and share information with them. I think one of the things that we try to keep in mind all the time with kids that are coming to the library is that truly it's an alternative to many other things that they could be doing. They bring lots to us, and they help us develop programs that are worthwhile. So if you know young adults, certainly send them to the library. We're happy to try to find ways to interact with them, and underneath, we're really trying to help them become positive, civically engaged citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, you've gotten, I think, a fairly complete overview of where we are with youth. And with the changes that we made with the current year budget and putting sort of the strategic responsibilities with Mr. Gaynor and the Parks Recreation Community Services Department, I think caused all of our responsible managers for youth services, so in addition to those who work in Parks and Recreation, also those from the library, the police department, and the Community and Economic Development Department, to really come together to see where our focus is. And I think what we came away with is that we have a very strong program from 0 to high school age, that we reach out to students in a lot of different levels, and I think have traditionally had a very strong program. We need to continue to make sure that those programs are available to all Evanston youth, and I think from you've heard today, there's some work that continues to need to be done there, and I think we're very committed to work on that. The one last note that I had from Alderman Rainey, which also has been touched on earlier, is the issue of transportation, and what ways can we make sure that all of our programs are accessible citywide, and certainly we will follow up with that. I think in our own analysis, the area that we continue to find the right balance are those services that we provide youth high school age and beyond. And as you've heard this evening, I think it's sort of not a defined age group as to what beyond is, but I think more or less 25 for those students who have not gone on to college, but certainly that we can provide resources for. And as you've heard, we have a component in our Community and Economic Development Department that deals with jobs. We have a component in our Police Department that deals with some more social service / enforcement pieces, and then we have the components that are in our Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Department. So that is the area that we still feel there needs to be a greater collaboration between the departments, some greater focus, some greater strategic initiatives on our part to make sure that those students that need our help in that high school age and beyond get that. And we're committed to continue to work under Mr. Gaynor's leadership to find that best mix. So again, we appreciate the time of the council this evening. We appreciate the council's feedback on these various initiatives. You have our commitment that we'll continue to make sure that our 0 to high school age programs get the greatest reach possible among all Evanston residents, and continue to make sure that those programs geared toward high school age students and beyond, that we've used the term of falling through the cracks. We need to make sure that we get the caulk guns out and make sure those cracks are filled up as tight as possible. And I think we have the tools. We just need to implement them in a more refined and systematic way. And under Mr. Gaynor's direction, I'm confident that we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the agenda, unless someone would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
City Clerk?
Alderman Burris? Alderman Fisk?
Yes.
Alderman John Batiste?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderman Holmes?
Yes.
Alderman Tindem? Alderman Grover? Thank you.
Wally, that was good.
Yes, it was a very
That was very comprehensive.